Good day, grade 12. Previously, we have discussed kinematics under one-dimensional motion, specifically under horizontal plane. Today, we would be tackling about the counterpart of it, which is one-dimensional motion on a vertical axis. Okay? So, when you are holding onto an object and then suddenly it falls off your hand, okay? Basically, it falls to the ground. So, what are the factors that affects, or what are the concepts under the factors affecting free falling bodies? Okay? So, for today, we would be discussing this following learning competencies. Okay? But before we move forward to our main topic, let's have a short recall of what kinematics is. So, kinematics is a branch of physics that deals with the study of motion. Basically, kinematics explain the big three, which is position, velocity, and acceleration. Okay? So, position is tells where the object is located. Okay? So, it can be the distance or the displacement taken by the object. Second, we have velocity. So, velocity is the measurement or the measure of the rate of change in displacement of an object in terms of the time it has taken. So, it is given by the equation v is equals to delta x or delta d over delta t. And lastly, we have acceleration. Acceleration is the rate of velocity per given time. So, it measures how velocity changes. So, if it is speeding up or speeding down with respect to time. Given the equation A is equals to delta V over delta T. Okay? So, bago po tayo mag-focus dun sa ating mismong topic, recall lang po natin itong mga equation na ginamit natin in solving kinematics for one-dimensional motion with constant acceleration, specifically for horizontal plane. So, we have 4 basic formulas. So, ito po yung mga ginamit natin. So, we have equation 1, 2, 3, and lastly, we have equation 4. Then, we also tackled about how an object, or we represent an object in motion for a specific, by using illustrating graphs. Okay, so position time graph. For example, an object is going from here to here. Okay, so the position time graph would look like this. The velocity time graph would look like this one. So, ganito yung slope niya. And the acceleration would be just like this. So, straight line, horizontal straight line. Kasi po, yung acceleration niya is constant. So, dito parang nasa 1.80 something meters per second squared. Okay? So, also, in analyzing the difference between velocity and acceleration, or how to describe an object under motion which has velocity and acceleration, I have here a summary or a graph, a table of it. Okay? So, we have velocity, acceleration, where the body is moving, if the speed is increasing or the velocity is increasing or decreasing. So, what would be the difference between speed and velocity? Okay, so speed is the magnitude of velocity. Velocity requires direction. Okay, so if an object has positive velocity, positive acceleration, the object is moving to the right. Okay, so it has increasing speed and increasing velocity. Second, if the velocity of an object is positive and its acceleration is negative, the object is moving to the right, so it has decreasing speed and decreasing velocity. Okay? So, next, if we have negative velocity but we have a positive acceleration, the body is moving to the left. We have decreasing speed and increasing velocity. Next, if both velocity and acceleration is negative, the body is most probably moving to the left with increasing speed but decreasing velocity. Lastly, so we have here positive velocity but zero acceleration. Okay, so wala tayong acceleration. The body is moving to the right but with constant speed and constant velocity. If both velocity and acceleration is zero, so kapag kapareho silang zero, most probably your object is stopped or your object is at rest with constant speed. So, syempre, nakatigil nga siya. So, constant ang speed at constant ang velocity. If velocity is zero, but we have a positive acceleration, the direction of the object is moving to the is towards rest but moving to the right with increasing speed and increasing velocity. If an object do not have a velocity but negative acceleration, so the object is about to rest going to the left. Okay, increasing si speed, decreasing si velocity. Okay, so much for that. Let's move forward to our main topic for this day, which is free fall. So, lahat ng object may tendency ang mahulog. Kahit feelings, di ba, nahuhulog. So, mahirap kapag walang sasalo sa'yo, masakit ang impact sa ground. Okay? So, a free-falling object was first discovered by Galileo. So, siya yung may remarkable observation tungkol sa free-falling objects. So, sabi ni Galileo, free-falling objects fall at the same rate. Okay, he proposed this nearly 400 years ago. Galileo conducted an experiment using a ball on an inclined plane to determine the relationship between the time and the distance traveled by the ball. Okay? So, nalaman niya dito, doon sa kanyang experiment na a free-falling object is an object which is falling under the sole influence of gravity. So, kaya po nalalaglag yung mga objects na yon ay dahil kay force na tinatawag nating gravity. That is to say that any object which is moving and being acted upon only by the force of gravity is said to be in the state of free fall. Okay? Kapag ang object nalaglag tapos ang nag-act upon lang daw doon ay gravity, so the object is under free fall. Okay? The acceleration of free-falling body is so important that physicists called it acceleration due to gravity. Okay? So, yung acceleration due to gravity na to, ito yung sinitawag or naisip noon ni Galileo na same rate nung pagbaba or pagbagsak ng object onto the ground. Okay? So, tinawag natin ito ngayon na acceleration due to gravity. It is denoted by letter G, okay, which is equivalent to 32 feet per second squared or 9.8 meters per second squared. So, ang gagamitin po natin mga kapatid is 9.81 meters per second squared. Okay, so meaning, since meron tayong same rate of change ng pagbagsak ng isang object. Okay, sana may same, parang sana lahat ng object or sana lahat ng bumabagsak at the same rate. Ano? So, joke lang. So, meaning, in the first second, so sa unang second ng pagbagsak mo, so the body accelerates from starting position or resting position to a velocity of 9 meters per second. So, after 2 seconds, nadagdagan siya, naging 19.6 meters per second. After 3 seconds, it triples, naging 29.4 meters per second. So, on the rate of change nito is, so ang kanilang common difference per second is 9.8 meters per second squared. Okay? So, the definition of free fall leads to two important characteristics about free-falling objects. Ito yung mga dapat nating tatandaan kay free fall. Free-falling objects do not encounter air resistance. Okay? And then second, free-falling objects on Earth, okay, specifically on Earth, accelerate downwards, okay? So, accelerates downwards at a rate of 9.8 meters per second or meters per second squared, 9.81 meters per second squared, or 32 feet per second squared. Okay, so ang acceleration due to gravity ay na-apply lang po natin sa Earth. If ever magiging Martian ka, tapos gusto mong maghulog ng bato sa lupa ng Mars, okay? So, yung acceleration due to gravity kay Mars ay mag-iiba na. Kasi iba yung gravitational force kay Mars compared to Earth. Dito sa Earth, iba-iba din nga po ang ating gravitational force. Pero ang ginagamit natin for common information is the 9.81 meters per second squared or the acceleration due to gravity. Okay? So, sabi dito, accelerate downward kasi di ba gravitational force is towards the ground, which is downward. So, G, most basically, or acceleration due to gravity is negative 9.81 meters per second squared. So, bakit po negative? Kasi, sabi dito, accelerate downwards. And acceleration is a vector quantity. Okay? So, paano natin i-represent yung downward motion ni gravity or ni gravitational force? So, we need to add the negative sign before the magnitude, which is 9.81 meters per second square. Okay? So, nagigets po ba yun? So, para mapatunayan na solely ang nakaka-affect lang kay free fall is the gravity. So, they conducted this experiment on a normal basis. Okay? On a normal basis, kapag daw si leaf at saka itong si acorn, sabay bumagsak, sino sa tingin niyo mauunang maka-reach yung lupa? Okay? Most basically, yes, si acorn. Acorn will fall faster than the leaf. Why? Kasi, due to air resistance, mas greater yung air resistance kay leaf because it has a larger surface area as well as it is lightweight. While the air resistance on the acorn would be smaller because it has smaller surface area and it has a greater mass. Pero, gawin mo siya, okay? Sabayin mo siyang ihulog sa vacuum, okay? So, yung vacuum is the state wherein there's no air, okay? So, sabayin mo siyang hinulog at a specific point, okay? The leaf and the acorn would fall at the same speed with same time. Okay? So, doon po sa vacuum phenomenon or vacuum situation, doon po natin pwedeng itulad yung situation under free fall. Whereas, there is no air resistance that acts upon onto the object. Okay? So, here are the equations to take note in computing for mathematical problems regarding bodies in free fall. Okay? So, we have here the taking down. Okay? So, ano yung ibig sabihin ng taking down? Look onto this picture. Okay? Look onto this photograph. Kapag yung pag yung object na hawak mo, basta mo na lang nilaglag, okay? Papunta sa ground. So, ibig sabihin, yung object mo is taking down. Okay? Solely, pababa po siya. So, ang gagamitin natin ay positive y. Okay? So, bakit? Di ko kung ano siya, negative y dapat siya. Bakit? Kasi yung horizontal plane niya ay negative. So, dito kasi, para hindi tayo malito, dahil si G ay negative 9.181 dapat. So, babalik na rin po natin para po yung equation natin ay ganito po na talaga. Okay? So, kapag ang object, hinulog mo lang basta, so ito po yung gagamitin mo equation. So, yan. So, V is equals to V naught plus GT, Y is equals to YO plus Y naught plus V naught T plus 1 half GT squared. So, V squared is equals to V naught squared plus 2G delta Y. V is equals to 1 half V plus VO. Okay? G is equals to negative 9.81 meters per second squared. So, dito, hindi nyo na po kailangan siyang i-negate. Kasi tinanggal na nga natin siya. So, ang gagamitin nyo na po dito, kapag ang object mo ay pababa. Okay? Kapag ang object mo ay nag-start ka sa taas, solely pababa lang siya. Positive 9.81. So, para hindi na po tayo malito kung kailan nyo siya ini-negative, kailan nyo siya ipa-positive. Okay? And then, next, kapag ka naman ang object natin is taking up, okay? So, kapag object natin is taking up, so, tumaas muna siya sa sky bago siya bumaba. So, hinagis mo siya pataas, saka siya bumaba. Yung motion niya, pataas, yun yung gagamitin natin as negative. And then, pagpunta naman dito sa peak, pababa, positive na. So, yung point dito, yan. So, y0 to y is equals to 8.10 meters. So, yun yung negative natin. So, ayun yung gagamitin. Ito yung mga gagamitin yung equation. So, from this point, dun sa peak niya, pababa. So, positive na po yung gagamitin natin. Okay? So, usually, y is equals to 0 and v is equals to 0 kasi lagi po tayong at rest or at starting position. Okay, for example, we have a falling body from a tower. Okay, a ball is dropped. V is equals to 0 or V naught is equals to 0 from a tower 70 meter high. How far will it have fallen after time 1, 2, 3 seconds? Okay? So, ang ginamit po ditong equation, since V naught is equals to 0, V is equals to V naught plus GT. So, 0 naman siya, V is equals to GT na lang. Okay? For calculating V1 or V at 1 second, 9.8 times 1 is 9.8 meters per second. Sorry. V2 is equals to 9.8 times 2 or 19.6 meters per second. V3 is equals to 9.8 times 3 or 29.4 meters per second. Okay? So, from this values, so, ito po yung itsura ng graph niya. So, from 10, 20, 30, 40 interval, from 0 to 1 second. So, nag-increase po siya ng 9.8 meters per second squared. Okay, so, yun. So, kaya po natin nakita na every second, meron tayong same rate of change, which is acceleration due to gravity, na 9.8 meters per second squared. Okay? So, note, yan. Ito po yung in-explain mo kanina. Tandaan, positive po ang y natin kapag ang motion po natin is downward. Okay, ang gagamitin natin y ay positive. Positive din po ang 9.1 kapag downward ang motion natin. So, pare-pareho po tayo. Okay, next, let's try solving this problem. Okay, a stone is dropped from the top of the building and it hits the ground 5 seconds later. How tall is the building? So, let's illustrate the situation. So, bear with my drawing skills. So, we have here a building. Supposedly, this is the building. Hindi naman natin So, ito yung ground. Yan yung pinto para mukha siyang building. Yan. So, yung stone daw, nag-drop daw siya. So, from this point, patap ng building, nag-drop daw siya sa ground, T is equals to 5 seconds. So, how tall daw, gano'n daw kataas yung building natin. Okay? So, we have the givens. So, since a stone is dropped to the building, syempre, V0 or initial velocity is equals to 0 meters per second. Kasi, parang, syempre, at rest naman bago mag-drop si stone. Next, the time is equals to 5 or final time is equals to 5 seconds. And we all know acceleration due to gravity is equal to 9.8 meters per second squared. So, since suli, pababa lang talaga yung motion ni ball, so we could use the equation y is equal to VOT plus 1/2 GP squared. Okay? So, positive y kasi pababa siya. Okay? So, ito po yung hinahanap natin, yung y. So, V0 is equals to 0, the time, 5, plus 1/2. Acceleration due to gravity is 9.81. 9.81 pa lang gamitin natin. Yan. Multiply by the time squared. So, this would be cancelled. So, the height of the building is 122.5 meters. Okay? So, yun po yung height. Next problem. Okay? A ball is thrown up into the air at 49 meters per second. So, how does it go? And then, how long it is in the air? It is on the air. So, isulat po ulit natin yung illustration ng ating problem. So, kunwari ito si ball, tinrown daw siya. So, yan. Or may bata. Siyempre, wala namang ball na kusang tatalon. So, tinapon daw siya pupunta sa air. Siyempre, lahat ng tinapon mo sa air, babagsak sa ground. Okay? So, ang tinatanong po ay gaano daw kataas, yan, gaano daw kataas yung inabot ni ball at saka gaano kahaba siya nasa air. Okay? So, ano yung mga given natin? So, given po tayo ng velocity, which is 49 meters per second, and acceleration due to gravity, which is 9.81 meters per second squared. So, una, doon muna tayo kay how high or yung y. So, alin kaya pwede natin gamitin? So, since alam natin na nag-fall siya sa ground, so most basically, BF is equal to 0. Okay? Bakit? Kasi, nag-fall na siya sa ground, wala na siyang motion, nag-stop na siya doon. So, BF, pwede natin gamitin yung last equation, which is BF squared equals to VO squared plus 2G YO Y minus Y naught. Y naught. Yan. So, ang VO natin, or V naught natin is 49 meters per second squared. Yan, 49. Lagyan na natin dito. VF, final velocity, since nag-stop na siya sa ground, equals 0. And then, plus 2 multiplied by 9.81. So, since dito, mga kapatid, tumaas siya, tapos bumaba, so, ang gagamitin natin dito ay negative 9.81. So, y minus yo. Sorry pala. Positive pala to. Tapos, negative y. Yan. Negative y minus yo. So, plus pala to. Kasi negative y nga pala tayo. Kapag ang object natin ay pataas or taking up, negative y. Okay? So, negative y, kasi wala naman tayong start. Yan. 9.81, 4 times 2 is 19.6. Yan. Negative 19.62 y is equals to negative 49 squared. Okay? So, negative 19.62 over negative 19.62 y would be equal to 122.5 meters. Okay? So, again, tandaan po natin itong taking up at taking down. So, kapag taking down, positive y. Okay, hindi na pala natin iisipin yung acceleration due to gravity. Okay, kapag taking up, so yan, tumaas muna bago bumaba, negative y. So, for this example, it is taking up. So, yan, tumaas muna bago bumaba. We use negative y. So, bakit naging negative y plus yo to? Okay? So, inegate natin yung y minus yo. So, distribute negative sign, negative y plus yo or y naught. Okay? So, for your activity, kindly navigate to the Google Classroom and search for the assignment under GP1 L4 Kinematics PFOL. Okay? Same worksheet applies, or same rule applies to every worksheet in General Physics 1. Okay, so if you have questions, clarifications, kindly reach through me. So that would be all for this day. Goodbye and thank you, grade 12. Stay hydrated and be safe. Salamat!